Mother Teresa was an amazing woman who served the church in many amazing ways. But how? I feel as though a lot of people, including myself, have heard of Mother Teresa and know that she did some incredible services, but most of us don't know exactly what she did. The goal of my project was to learn and share with others about the great ways in which Mother Teresa served the Catholic Church. Mother Teresa, one of the most famous and dedicated servants of God, was born on August 26, 1910 in Skopje, Macedonia, which was part of the former Ottoman Empire. She was baptized Gongsa Bajaksu, which in English is Agnes, on the next day, August 27th. She was one of 5 children in a middle-class family. Her father, Nicola, a grocer, died in 1919, and her mother, Dronda, died in 1968. In 1928, at the age of 18, Agnes moved to Ireland and joined the Sisters of Loreto at the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary. There she studied English, and 6 weeks later she sailed to India. In 1929, she entered the novitiate in Darjeeling, which is located in the foothills of the Himalayas. She became a nun, and this was when she was given the name Sister Teresa. She was then sent to teach at St. Mary's School for Girls in Calcutta, where she eventually became the principal. She taught for 17 years. On May 24, 1937, she made her final profession vows as a nun, and from then on she was called Mother Teresa. Then, on September 10, 1946, while riding a train to Darjeeling, Sister Teresa experienced what she calls her second calling, to serve the poor in Calcutta. During the calling, she has said that Jesus revealed many things to her, including his pain for the poor and less fortunate, and for the ignorance of people. He asked her to found a community to serve the poorest of the poor. So upon her petition, in August of 1948, with the blessing of her superiors and the permission of the Archbishop, she left her sisterhood and went to live in the slums of Montzeal. There she started outdoor schools and fed, clothed, and taught the poor. Former students of hers and women who came to volunteer with her became an order called the Missionaries of Charity. In 1950, this order received canonical sanction or approval from the Church, and in 1965 her order also became a pontifical congregation, which means that it became subject only to the Pope. In 1952, she opened the first of her many hospices, and in 1957 she founded a leper colony. During her lifetime, she also established many other foundations and programs that were dedicated to helping people. Every 6 years she was re-elected, not surprisingly, as superior of her order. As the years passed, her health worsened, and in 1989, Mother Teresa even suffered a heart attack. Then, in 1997, because of her worsening heart condition, she expressed her wish to step down as superior of the order, and the sisters granted her request. On September 5, 1997, Mother Teresa died with her sisters surrounding her. On September 13th, she was buried in the Mother House for the Missionaries of Charity. Blackbird singing in the dead of Now it's time to go into depth on some of the amazing doings of Mother Teresa that I briefly mentioned earlier. Mother Teresa's dedication to the church was amazing. When she first decided to move to the slums after receiving her calling from Jesus, Mother Teresa dedicated herself completely to the new culture. She became a part of it. She adopted Indian citizenship, and she and all the Missionaries of Charity nuns under her wore traditional Indian saris as their habits. Her order, the Missionaries of Charity, is dedicated to all those who need assistance, including the elderly, poor, lepers, cripples, aid victims, and even the dying. In addition to the original Missionaries of Charity order, Mother Teresa also created other branches of the Missionaries of Charity. Some of these branches include the Missionaries of Charity Brothers in 1963, the Contemplative Branches of Sisters in 1976, the Contemplative Branch of Brothers in 1979, and the Missionaries of Charity Fathers in 1984. All of these branches of her order were founded so that she could more efficiently respond to the physical and spiritual needs of the poor. She also founded the Co-workers of Mother Teresa and the Sick and Suffering Co-workers, in which she could share her spirit with those who were suffering. This led to the formation of the Corpus Christi movement for priests in 1981, which was a program dedicated to priests who wanted to share in Mother Teresa's amazing spirit and love. In 1952, she also established Nirmal Hriday Day, which means place for the pure of heart. It was a place where those who were terminally ill could die in peace and with dignity. The 1957 founding of her Indian leper colony, called Shanti Magar, which means Town of Peace, was another great work of Mother Teresa's. Some of the funding for this leper colony was obtained in 1964 when Pope Paul VI gave Mother Teresa his limousine. She immediately raffled it off and used the money for the leper colony. Mother Teresa also opened several other centers through her order, the Missionaries of Charity, for the blind, aged, and disabled. In 1968, she was even summoned to Rome to found a home for Indian nuns. During speeches, she spoke out against divorce, contraception, and abortion. Mother Teresa was a woman who was constantly serving God, the Church, and her neighbors. These good works quickly attracted attention, and the awards began piling up, all in which she accepted in the name of God. In 1963, she was given the title Padma Shri, or Lord of the Lotus, by the Indian government for her services. Then, in 1971, Pope Paul VI awarded her with the first ever Pope John XXIII Peace Prize. And in 1979, she was even awarded with the Nobel Prize for Peace. By the time of her death, her order included centers in more than 90 countries with about 4,000 nuns as well as thousands of other workers. Mother Teresa's whole life was spent serving God and spreading the message of His love. And what made her even more heroic and relatable was the fact that she too sometimes felt abandoned by God, just as we often do. Just because she was greatly committed to Catholicism does not mean that she was not human. After her death, some of her letters were discovered, and it was found that Mother Teresa was not feeling God in her soul for the last 50 years of her life. The letters revealed that she too suffered and felt abandoned by Jesus when she started her mission. She used these feelings of abandonment in her religious life, and they actually helped her to remain committed to her work and, more importantly, to God. Now let's talk a little bit about something most people aren't clear on. Is Mother Teresa a saint? If not, when will she become one? Because of her greatness and dedication to her faith, only 18 months after her death, Pope John Paul II allowed Calcutta's Archbishop to start the beatification process. Usually there is a 5-year waiting period before this process begins, but because of how special Mother Teresa was to the Church, Pope John Paul made an exception for her, and the process began early. On October 19, 2003, Mother Teresa was officially beatified, which means that she became blessed. This was the fastest beatification to ever take place in the history of the Church. Beatification is also one of the first steps in being canonized or becoming a saint. Another step in the canonization process is finding one or more miracles. These miracles are ones that have to be attributed to the intercession of the person going through the canonization process. So basically, the miracle has to be one that Mother Teresa herself caused. So in her case, we are still waiting for a second miracle that is required for her to be canonized. Like I said, I too was one of those people who knew who Mother Teresa was and knew that she did a lot of truly amazing things for the Church, but I didn't know what. While doing this project, I really discovered for myself how committed she was to her faith, and I think we can all learn from that. I found so much amazing information on her, and I'm sad that I couldn't fit it all into my project. She did so much for our community, and I wanted to be able to share it with everyone. And she did it while feeling abandoned by God, just as we all sometimes do. When I think of saints or servants of God, I usually think of these really holy people from the olden days who did a bunch of amazing things that I myself could never achieve. But after reading about Mother Teresa, my idea changed. First of all, Mother Teresa was alive recently, so not only is she really well known, but she's also more modern. Secondly, she suffered and felt abandoned by God just as we sometimes do. And through all that, she just used her suffering to grow closer to God and commit even more fully to her mission. That was truly inspiring. Most people, when faced with suffering like that, would lean towards giving up, but she used it to make her stronger, and as a result, she served the church even more fully. Mother Teresa has inspired me to perform more random acts of kindness and participate in more community service activities. Although my service might not compare to the enormous things she did for our church, she has inspired me to serve the church in the little ways that I can, by spreading God's love and His Word. Whether it be through her leper colony, her many centers dedicated to helping those less fortunate, or the missionaries of charity, Mother Teresa's whole life was spent serving the dear neighbor. Many of the foundations she established, including the Missionaries of Charity Brothers and Fathers, were established for the sole purpose of serving and helping the poor more thoroughly. She was already living in the slums of India, at her own request, which is an amazing service in and of itself, when she then got her calling within a calling from Jesus. After this, she went on to do even more amazing things. It wasn't just the things that she did and the way that she did them, but it was the fact that she put so much love into what she did for others. As she herself said, "It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving."